to everybody, and his wife, the Celeste, who was a French woman that nobody in my family liked, probably because she was French. I don't know why exactly, but she always complained that, and that seems reasonably, that he never charged anybody because the rich friends he had, who called him, he was pretty well off, I guess. He was one of the few guys that had a car at the time. We're talking about like 1900, right? He didn't charge his rich friends, and he didn't charge the poor people because they were poor, so he probably didn't never charge anybody, but somehow had a lot of money anyways. So my great-grandmother was his only niece, and he would drive over to the next over town, pick her up, and bring her over to the beach house with a little farm that that Abuelito Pratt, who died in the river, had bought. So pick her up, and they would have a lovely time, family time. And then one day, she says that it was like 7 o'clock, and her and her cousins were in the ocean, 7 o'clock p.m., it's like sun setting in Puerto Rico, and they heard a gunshot. And what happened, it's the story, which is about the death of Uncle Rosendo, Tío Rosendo. Tío Rosendo had a friend, Juancho Bascaran. So, I don't know. It's a hard name in Spanish, so I just can't imagine what it sounds like to you. Juancho Bascaran and Tío Rosendo were best buddies. They had fought together in the Spanish-American War against the Americans, you guys, or your grandparents. And they were Spanish loyalists. They believed that Spain was the best thing for Puerto Rico, and of course Spain lost, and they were gone. And Juancho had a wife that my great-grandmother described her as not very pretty, but she fell in love a lot. That's what she said. And apparently Juancho, her husband, was out of town a lot in business trips and whatnot. And one time he comes back from some trip, and somebody said something to him about his wife being, romantic, or I don't know how they would say it back in the day. And Juancho started investigating around town, and what came up was my great uncle Rosendo's name came up among his investigation. My great-grandmother says that she doesn't know if Rosendo had anything going with her, but that she doesn't discount it. He was a handsome man, he was a doctor, it was possible, but there's no real proof. Doesn't matter. Juancho knew my uncle's schedule. My uncle would get home around 6 o'clock, and he would have his driver drive him to the beach farmhouse where my great-grandmother and her cousins were swimming. But every day he would drive over there, drop him off, and he would walk back to the house, which was apparently a fairly long walk. I don't know what that meant at that time. She doesn't explain how many miles or anything. But he used to walk back singing songs and being the happy guy that he was, happy with his day, helping people and whatnot. And Juancho apparently knew this routine and waited for him in some bush. And my great-grandmother specifies that they were both very, very good shooters. They were very good with a gun. So apparently Juancho had to, know what to do exactly, but there was one shot, and he killed him. And Juancho ran off. And then the next day, when the train was leaving the station, this happened, he walked along the railroad tracks to his house. The train stopped, and there was Dr. Pratt, my Tío Rosendo, on the railroad tracks, dead. And he said they killed Dr. Pratt. The word spread around all over the place. The police came and found a piece of material on some bush or something. Somehow they all suspected Juancho, because I guess they all knew the story about the gossip and the infidelity, etc. And went to his house and found the pants with the torn piece of material. And arrested him, and in a strange move, jailed him in the firehouse, on the second floor of the firehouse, on a little cell that was up there. And while Juancho Mascaran was in the cell, he spent several days there, but a couple days later, the funeral procession of Tío Rosendo went down the main street of this tiny town towards the church that was at the end for the funeral. And while that was going on, Juancho hung himself in the fireman's room. And as they were dragging him, Rosendo, into the church, they were taking out Juancho's body out of the firehouse. And my great-grandmother, I don't know, my family, I don't know if it's just something in my family or that, but she was like, one bad woman, two good men gone, I thought that was a little unfair. So I wrote the song, and I'm going to tell you a little thing more about the story after I play the song, but I want to play the song first. I was curious about the Juancho's perspective and about the woman's perspective. And my favorite part of the song is the little bit of the woman's view. But anyways, this is called Last Letter from Mascaran, which is sort of his, if he had written a letter, maybe this is what he would have said. A little note, I changed the name of Rosendo to Jim. Too many syllables in Rosendo. And I switched the story a little bit. So it's not a reportage, as it were. I watched Jim's death procession from my prison cell. I watched my best friend's wife hold her head and cry. Just 5 days ago, someone saw me crawling out late at night from her home and with no shirt on. That's what they told Big Jim when he got home. And now as I sit in this prison cell, watch my best friend on his final parade. I think of that moment by the ocean's shore, that moment that tore my heart as we drew our guns. So this is betrayal. This is what happens when loyalty splits. You kill those whom you love, 'cause they hate you so much. As I watch the procession from my prison cell, in the distance the bells of the church rang 12, and his wife wiped her tears and turned her head to the jail in the west, where her sunshine would soon set. So this This is betrayal. This is what happens when loyalty splits. To hate those whom you love, 'cause you love them so much. She followed the procession, pulled her hair with her hands, ignored the sidewalks filled with mystified men who pointed and whispered as they watch her walk by. And they think they know who was wrong and who was right. So this is betrayal. This is what happens when loyalty splits. You hate to love and you hate to hate it, until you're at your ropes end. Thank you. Now, we recorded this song with my band in a much better vocal representation with Diane, my wife, singing it. And we put it out, and the record ended up in the hands of a distant cousin of mine in Puerto Rico, Abelardo. And Abelardo is a bit of a family history enthusiast, I guess, as I am. I guess the tradition copies, goes to a lot of different people. And he sent me this article that he found in some book written in like the 1960s or 70s. And it was a book about the post-Spanish Civil War time in Puerto Rico. And in the book, there was a chapter dedicated to Juancho Bascaran and Rosendo Prat, Tio Rosendo. And the article basically made the point that the whole situation was suspect. First, it said that these two guys were men of honor in a time when duels were legal and very formalized. And that in a situation like they had found themselves, where one of them was accusing the other one of improprieties with his wife or whatnot, he would not have hidden behind a bush and shot him cowardly like that. He would have challenged into a duel. They would have gotten seconds. They would have picked weapons. They would have done everything by the book, which was legal at the time and common in Puerto Rico at the time to do that. So that was the first suspicion. The second suspicion was that these two guys were apparently very stern loyalists to the Spanish crown, and very likely in trouble with the new governments that were being set up all over the island by the American occupiers. I want to say invaders, because that's really what it was, and still is. If you want to talk about Puerto Rican politics, I'll be out bar afterwards. I'll be happy to give you the whole story. But I'm not going to deal with that now. The third thing was that the rafters in the room where Bascaran hung himself were extremely high and not reachable without a ladder. Of course, they put him in the fireman's jail instead of the town jail, and they knew that the firemen loved my uncle, or the uncle. I say uncle, but you know what I mean. So this guy's saying that this was all a political assassination type thing, where they set one guy up as the murderer of the other one, and they put him in the jail with the fireman, and the fireman hung him from a high rafter. I don't know if that's true. The book was written ages ago. There's really no more information, I doubt. I don't know, but I thought that was a very interesting twist to what seemed at first very melodramatic love story, which Latin Americans and Puerto Ricans in particular just love much, about as much, I guess, or more than a political intrigue situation, considering that we try to blind ourselves to the political correctness that surrounds us. Anyways, thank you, Billy. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you all for listening to me.